Today is October 20th, 2024, so we are 15 days from election. And I was telling my partner this morning that I feel like we're in a boat headed for the cliff of Niagara Falls, getting ready to crash over. I saw a short video last night that I'd like to share with you.
You know me, I'm normally a voice of calm, and I'm here not as a voice of calm today. I think that what the vice president said, what Donald Trump has said, what members of the Republican Party have said leads me to think there is a coming massive crisis that's going to occur on November 5th with the election, in which even if Kamala Harris wins the election and wins those battleground states, the Trump team is going to declare victory with J.D. Vance at his side, and they will pressure courts, they will pressure state legislatures, they'll pressure state governors, and they'll pressure the United States Congress to throw out the popular vote and get this election through shenanigans.
Now, I do wonder exactly how people can throw out an election through shenanigans. But if the Supreme Court is on Trump's side, which they have given indication that they've drunk the Kool-Aid that has taken over the Republican Party, then it will come down to the courts, and the courts may side with Trump. Shenanigans. And here's another clip from a short but very relevant documentary that my partner and I watched last night.
The point of Christian nationalism, my goal, is to break American democracy.
We get called, well, you're a Christian nationalist. You want the kingdom to be the government. Yes.
How do you make America great again? You make America Christian again.
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
We need total dictator Trump. The Constitution is invalid.
Why do you need to be a dictator for a day unless you're going to use that to try and be a dictator forever? I think that's Trump's version of, let me put the tip in.
Just let me put the tip in.
Whoa! Those video clips were from the documentary For Our Daughters, which you can watch on YouTube and is centered around the subject of how women in these right-wing churches are treated and can be raped and or sexually molested by pastors with near impunity because the church will cover it up because it's part of this insane and cult-like culture that really views women as essentially the property of men by God's insane divine will. It's a short documentary. It's only 30 minutes, but I think it shows how crazy people can be when they've fully convinced themselves that their egos are speaking for God. And regardless of what happens on November 5th, whether Kamala wins or Trump wins, those of us who don't want to live in a theocracy will be living with these people after November 5th. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to continue to try and enact their plan of getting rid of democracy and installing some version of the Handmaid's Tale in the United States of America. So I want to call in my partner here and get her thoughts about the future and maybe what we should be thinking about regardless of what happens on November 6th. Because should we just sit around on our hands and wait to see the outcome of this election?
Christian nationalists see themselves as entrusted with this duty to take back the country.
God, we didn't come just to go to church. We came to go to war.
Their plan for winning this war is for Christian men to be aggressive, militantly masculine, even violent. And if they win, American women will be required to give them control of their bodies, just like the Christian women who have already been living under their authority.
Because I tell you, in one sense, I'm not so sure whether Kamala actually wins the vote is going to make clearly that much difference in the days, months, and years following this election. So that's my question. What should we be preparing for? What should we perhaps be getting ourselves ready for? Now I'd like to bring in my discussion with my partner.
The race is statistically tied. There's just,
right.
I keep on waiting.
I think from my thinking about it, well, if Harris wins, it's like there's going to be shenanigans. And right. I realize this is really an ongoing question. And I have thoughts on that, what the future is likely to be. I remember years ago Christians saying that the whole idea of separation of church and state is a lie or a myth.
Mm-hmm.
And to some extent, I do agree with them in the sense that a country has to sort of decide, do we value this or do we value this? I mean, theoretically, I think if you belong to any religion and you want people to follow you, your goal should not be to make them do your lifestyle through force. They think that they are increasing the kingdom of heaven by forcing people. And that's not, I don't believe that's the way it works. But that's their idea. So that's.
Well, I think they're just more overt about it. I mean, let's be real. This country has only had Christian presidents.
Right.
Only 2 Catholics.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a white Protestant country, and there used to just be like a subtle pressure. I mean, we've never had an atheist president.
That's right.
Is Bernie Sanders an atheist? I think
somebody like Bernie Sanders might be atheist in a way. He's technically Jewish, but how Jewish is he? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there were just subtle ways in which but it felt like when I was younger, like Jimmy Carter was a reverend, right? But I don't think back then there was this threat of wanting to turn us into a Christian nationalist. I mean, I think there was a lot more separation of church and state back then.
I think the difference is that, I mean, it's not illegal to elect somebody who's Christian. There's no law about religion in the Constitution, except that you can't discriminate based on faith. And since this country was mostly founded by people who had some version of Christianity that they believed in, but the historic record is that, was it Thomas Jefferson or somebody tried to write their own Bible, or they were very radical, and people who were radical and rebelling from the tyrannical King of England or the tyrannical control of religious leaders, Europe came here so that they could live and practice their beliefs, whether they were Amish or whatever. Right. And that was the idea. It was much more of a live and let live philosophy, which I think much more than today.
Right.
I mean, you could even say that I think.
Well, I think that's not entirely true. There were tensions between the Quakers and the Calvinists, and there was certainly a long period of discrimination against Catholics.
That's absolutely true.
I mean, I think there's always been a strain of religious violence in our country. May not have been as bad as France or whatever, but it definitely, there was tensions. I think the founding fathers wanted to make it clear that it works best when there's a clear separation of church and state. And, but then, In God We Trust was kind of put on the dollar, and we added, one nation under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think it's slowly been growing into more and more of a forcing of Christian values.
Stay tuned for more podcasts about our evolving world.